All right, hello? Okay, there we go. All right, good evening, everyone. The public has been duly informed of this meeting in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by posting at least 48 hours in advance a notice on the bulletin boards in Stevenson and Churchill schools, a notice to the township clerk, and a notice to the Herald and the Progress. Now, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'm going to hold the board president's comments until after a couple presentations tonight. And we'd like to begin and kind of go off cue a little bit by introducing our auditors. So please come up, introduce yourself. Feel free to use the microphone and the podium.
There we go. Good evening. Brian Coe from Nisavatia. I'm your audit manager. Thank you for having us here today. I'm just going to go over briefly a couple of points from the audit this year. So your total fund balance at June 30th, 2025, so this past summer, was $9,020,000. That's a very healthy reserves in there. We're very happy to see where the reserves are at now. There are a couple of years where those reserves were getting dwindled down, and now they're at very healthy levels, and we're very happy about that. You're doing a good job of managing your expenses and upcoming and unexpected expenses. And those ballot questions from years past have really helped establish an appropriate budget, and it's really making up for some unlucky years that you've had in the past. During the year, you used $312,000 of various federal grants and $1.7 million of various state grants. That's from the state aid and state grants. $50,000 of that is from SDA grants that you used for the Churchill roof project. We have no recommendations in the audit this year. We'd like to thank Wally for his cooperation during the audit and his staff. They do a really great job. And the auditors aren't everybody's favorite people, but we really appreciate you prioritizing our requests and putting up with us for the week that we're here, and we really appreciate that. So does anybody from the board have any questions?
I have none. Joe? No. Do you have anything? Melinda? Ange? No?
All right, great. Well, we're here all year long, not just during audit time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. All of our best clients ask us questions during the year, and we really love to do that. So anything you need, go ahead and reach out.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
The audit, while the responsibility of the audit ultimately falls on my shoulders, the positive results that were presented here tonight are a reflection of the efforts of many individuals. So first and foremost, I would like to thank my dedicated staff, Anna Maria Karch, Michelle Adams, and Zara Garcia for their hard work, which were essential to the audit. I'd like to extend my appreciation to Ryan and his assistant, Patricia Andolo, for their support, as well as all administration, teachers, and staff across the district. Each played a vital role in the favorable outcome of the audit. And finally, I'm grateful to the board for granting me flexibility and trust to manage the district itself. The result of all of this is what is portrayed in the audit. So,
no recommendations, correct?
Correct. No recommendations this year's audit. We had 2 management suggestions in there, but we gave those to all of our clients this year. They're about new GASB pronouncements that are coming out over the next year.
Can we go into those in detail?
Oh, of course we can if you want to. Yeah. So everybody got those. Just to looking ahead, these are things that are going to change in next year's audit because the GASB released those pronouncements.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
As we approach the November election, I want to emphasize how important it is for our community to understand the significance of the upcoming ballot questions. The progress the district has made over the past few years, improving programs, maintaining class sizes, and continuing to invest in our facilities and staff has been possible largely because of the previous ballot questions that were approved by our voters. Those approvals give us the flexibility to meet student needs despite the state's 2% cap on our annual budget increases. So looking ahead, the new ballot questions are just as critical. They ensure that we can continue providing high-quality education, protect the programs our community values, and address rising costs that are beyond our control. Simply put, the success and stability of our schools depends on the support of our towns, their voters, and everything we envision for the district moving forward. So please get out and vote in November. Thank you to our auditors. We appreciate your time and value everything. Thank you. We're going to jump around a little bit this evening, and we're going to have Wally take over a buildings and grounds presentation.
This was supposed to happen last month, but we were having some technical difficulties. So I'd just like to point out some of the projects that the district completed over the summer. I'd like to thank John Pacino, our Director of Facilities and Grounds, for turning the buildings over and getting them ready. Some of the key highlights that they did were all the classrooms and furniture were thoroughly cleaned, floors were stripped and waxed. There were multiple areas in the buildings that were painted. All the safety compliance updates were completed, and general maintenance and repairs throughout the district were also completed. We also had several larger scale products, and there's a slideshow that was presented by Ms. Altai to show some of the pictures. One of the slideshows is a boiler replacement project at Churchill, and you can see before and after. The original estimated cost of that project was $850,000 for construction costs. We were able to secure a PSE&G direct install program, and thanks to all these incentives, we were able to get the project final cost between $125,000 and $130,000. So that's a real significant savings to the district. And the new high-efficiency boilers will also expected to do reduced fuel costs for additional annual savings every year. One of the next projects, which I'm not sure they're out of order. One more. The paving. So we had to replace some damaged paving at Churchill from the winter, as well as install new sidewalks for student safety and access between the trailers and some of the other entrances. And that's some of that. We did some also landscaping improvements, and they were not only cosmetic throughout the district, but there were also some areas where there were trees and debris against some of our mechanical utilities that were causing some damage. So again, cosmetic, but also functional. And there's pictures before and after of Stevenson and Churchill. The district took part in doing some lighting upgrades. So we went to transition to LED lightings. The total cost of the project was $109,000 for both buildings. We received rebates from PSE&G of $81,250. So the final cost of the district for all the lighting upgrades was $28,260. The anticipated annual savings in electric and maintenance by switching over is $28,000 a year. So the project essentially paid for itself in the first year, as well as providing better lighting in the classrooms and hallways. The Stevenson Playground. We renovated the existing playground area with new drainage, borders, and mulch, and you could see the difference in that picture right there. We milled and paved the kindergarten and large play area. We installed 3 new basketball poles. We put 2 of them at lower heights for the younger students so they could reach. We replaced and widened the sidewalk for accessibility, and the project was subsidized by an $87,000 grant. And there was also one other project that there are no pictures for because it's not really exciting. It's a technology upgrade.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's nothing really to see here unless you're a tech guy. But we did a full upgrade of the MDF and IDF rooms, which entailed new cabling throughout the district, switches, battery backup systems, which is the first time we've had that. We updated firewall and configurations and did a similar project last year at Churchill. So this project was at Stevenson. We will submit the project for E-rate reimbursement with an estimated savings of $28,000 back to the district. So overall, when you add up all the incentives, rebates, and cost savings, we are realizing close to $1 million in total savings that we would have footed the bill for. But due to a little bit of work, we were able to secure some substantial savings for the district, and we could put those funds elsewhere in future years. So that's
Other capital projects.
other capital projects.
Thank you. Wally, anything else that you want to add with your business administrator's report, other than the audit that was presented, or?
No.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
So I just want to touch on the PSE&G project in particular. About 2 years ago, we started the boiler project, and we were at the time estimating over $1 million, and then the cost was brought down to approximately $850,000. And when this program from PSE&G came about, we did some research, and we found that it's very difficult and time-consuming to take a program like this and make it work, because you're taking a boiler and you're installing it with existing pipes, and it was very difficult. And our former BA advised us that it's a very difficult project unless you have someone that's really on site and knows what they're doing. And we're very fortunate, Wally, and I want to say thank you, because of Wally's efforts and because we were proactive and took advantage of that program, we saved north of $650,000 on one project. And that says a lot. So when you look at the improvements that we've made at Stevenson and Churchill in regards to the landscaping, the board's very passionate about having the schools look and feel and fit with Fairfield. And we feel like we are finally heading in the right direction with our Buildings and Grounds Committee, with the support of the Board of Education and our members. We feel like the boiler system there, it's great for the kids. I know Wally's going to look into it to see if the program's still available.
I filed the paperwork to do the same program over in Stevenson, so it's up to PSE&G now to decide if we're eligible for that project as well.
So we're very thankful and grateful that you spearheaded this project and you gave the district the ability to take that $500,000 or $600,000 and put it in capital reserve to use it for projects that we have in the upcoming future. So thank you very much. With that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Gupta.
Good evening, everyone. While we're on the topic of praising Wally, so I just want you to know that, first of all, to be a successful superintendent, you have to have an incredible BA. There's no way what you're about to see is all on academics. There's no way I could, that's my wheelhouse. That's what I love. That's what I was brought in here for. But to be able to turn the other stuff over to Mr. Lindsley and not worry about all those other things, and then for him to come and tell me, oh, by the way, we have this money. Are there some instructional materials you want to buy? And of course, I go buck wild and spend every single dollar to go to the teachers. But it is just amazing to have that. And like our board president pointed out, they say, oh, well, you just have to do a little work. The amount of time and effort it takes to do a grant and to get those things approved and the paperwork and the follow-up and all that stuff, it is a lot. So just want to say, greatly appreciate that stuff. And it does allow me to focus on this kind of thing. So BA doesn't get the awards. I'm going to be able to talk about our assessment report, but the only reason this is possible is because he takes care of all that other stuff for me. So I appreciate that, Wally. All right, annual assessment report. We're required every year to give an assessment report. So this is basically going to be a look back on how we did last year. So a couple of things we're going to touch upon. I'm just going to highlight a quick assessment schedule for this year. We're going to, of course, talk about the NJSLA results. We're going to talk about how we're improving student growth and achievement, and then I'm just going to let you know what we're doing this current year. And if you have any questions, just hold them till the end, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have on this presentation. So here are some of the dates of upcoming assessments. I will draw your attention to the very first one. You'll see a key word that's different, NJSLA adaptive. So the state is changing the NJSLA test. It is becoming an adaptive test. What that means is you answer a question, and if you get it right, the next question is more complex, more complicated. If you get it wrong, they give you a simpler question. There are assessments out there that have already been doing this, but the state has realized this is a better way to measure student growth. So we are going to be field testing this. It's mandatory. Every school in New Jersey is going to field test this, and it's coming up. It's October 28th through the 30th. We'll be on a testing schedule. Students in grades 4 through 6 will take this field test. And the worst part about the field test, besides it taking up time, is we don't get any of the results. Students don't get results. The school doesn't get a result. It's purely to test their items for when we take it for real in May. So if you see that NGSLA Adaptive, that's what that is. It's a new test that's field tested, and then it's going to be given to our students, grades 3 through 6, in April and May. Some of the other assessments that we do, M-Class, you've probably heard these, Link It, and our DRAs. And again, more of this information can be found on our website if you're looking at a particular one, but some of them are given 3 times a year, benchmark. All of these are used to measure our students' growth, see how they're doing, what are some of the areas they need improvement on. All right, so let's jump right in. Again, these are our results from last year, and I showed you just the last 4 years so you see where we were at and how long and where we've arrived at. So just Math 3, that's an extremely impressive number. Last year, our third graders passed at 52%, and right below it you see NJ. That means the state passing rate was 47% last year. This year, the state's passing rate was 50, but our third graders passed at 70%. So that means 70% of our third graders met proficiency. In fourth grade, we stayed the same as last year's group. We're very consistent with fourth grade. You see it 44, 49, 46, 46. That one doesn't move. We do know why. We anticipated some of that, and we've already addressed some of the issues, and we already have a plan in place of how we can focus on fourth grade and see how we can move them more like some of the other grades. Math 5 also went up 51% to 59%. Again, that's 15% above the state average. So when you look at 59, it's like, well, that's not great. Only 59% of our students are passing. Only 44% is considered average. So we always like to be above the state. The fact that we're 15% above the state is very impressive. So I'm very, very proud of these results. Again, the math assessment is difficult. It is challenging. And that's why, like Math 6, 40% of passing in New Jersey, that's the average. While our sixth graders were up at 52%, 12% better than that. So kudos to our math teachers. Here's, if you want to measure how the students did. So here you're comparing this year's third grade class with last year's third grade class. But if you want to see how a particular cohort did, if you want to see how students did from year to year, this is the graph for that. So you can see that fourth grade actually dipped a bit. So from third grade to fourth grade, there was a dip. And that's what I was telling you, that we are addressing the issue. We've addressed the issue already, and we're going to continue to focus on improving that. And you see the other grades, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. That measures the growth of the students. So you always want to see that go up the following year. And that last column, that's a summary of all students in math. You can see we grew from 49% to 54% overall, which is a good thing. You always want to see some growth at the end. Doesn't always happen, but that's what you want to see. Over to ELA. So ELA, passing numbers are a little bit higher, and you can see we had some very, very impressive numbers in ELA in every grade level. So 64%, we were 19% above the state average for our third graders. These were last year's third graders. In fourth grade, we were 15% above the state average. In ELA 5, we were 26% above the state average. And then in ELA 6, where 83% of our students passed, we were at 27% above the state average. That's exciting to see. All of this information was shared with the staff. So it was a great first day full faculty meeting when we talked about these scores. And no one's more happier to see that than me, of course. But all of it is because of the teachers. It really is. And I'm glad to see that their efforts pay off. It doesn't always show itself in the standardized test score. It's not everything, but it is a big piece, and it's nice to see that these scores actually do reflect all the efforts going on in the classroom. So again, here are the same students and how they grew from one year to the next. So from third and fourth grade, those students grew from 47% passing to 70% passing. That is enormous growth. Our fourth to fifth grade, you can see their growth. Our fifth to sixth, another enormous growth, and that's the summary. All grades put together. In ELA, our students grew from 58% passing to 79% passing, which is exceptional. It really is. And in science, we don't have growth here. It's only done in fifth grade, so we don't know how they grow from one year to the next. But fifth grade, we did improve once again from 30% passing to 39%. again, does not sound impressive, but when you look at the state, it's looking at 28 to 30% passing rate as being the average. So once again, we are well above that. All right, so what do we do with all this? That's great. Here's just a behind the scenes of what the staff does with all this. Led by Katie Prawl, who's our reading specialist, and Jim Varengia, who's our math coach. They dive into it first, so it's not overwhelming for any staff members, and they kind of take the lead. Here's what they do with the teachers. A couple of things here. They determine which question types our students struggle with. You could probably guess which ones they are. They're the ones that require application. There are the questions that have more than one correct answer. There are the questions that utilize some kind of technology, whether it's a drag and drop. So we can see what are the patterns, what do we need to practice with our students. They determine which specific areas are our kids having issues with. It's not just, oh, well, they might struggle in ELA 4. Well, what about ELA? What about math? Is it the content? Do they struggle with reasoning? Do they have troubles with application? Is it their vocabulary? Do they have trouble writing? Is it informational text? Now, you guys all got your kids' individual student reports, so you can see how your child did in those categories. So if they struggled with an ELA assessment, well, what was it? Was it a particular type? Did they struggle with informational text? That's basically, they don't like nonfiction. They struggle when the passage they have to read is about science or social studies. That's what those are. So we dive into that so we can really focus on the skills we need to improve. And just a note, all of those skills I listed there, that can be addressed by any content area. So this isn't just an issue of this is only what ELA, math, or science is. Social studies, that's informational text. Science in any grade, that's informational text as well. So a lot of these skills can be addressed all across all subject areas and all grade levels. Another thing we look at is the alignment of the curriculum and instruction to the standards. Was there a particular question we struggled with? Was it because that information wasn't covered until after the test? Was it only covered for a short period of time? What was it about that particular question that our kids struggled with? Which questions did our kids do exceedingly well on? So we look at those trends. And then the bottom piece is key. What do you do with all that information? We provide targeted instruction and provide support for students in those specific areas. So when they go to their DI period or they have TI, targeted instruction, differentiated instruction, that's what they're working on specifically. What were the areas that need improvement? And the teachers dive into those areas. Okay, a lot about testing. This was a slide I showed last year, and I was not going to bring it up, but I do want to highlight just a couple of things because one of the questions I always get is, why do we spend so much time talking about standardized assessments? That does not define my child. It absolutely does not. It is one specific tool. However, we cannot deny how important it is for our students to get comfortable and confident with standardized assessments. These are just some of the things that our standardized assessments are required for. Right now, if your child is trying to get into our Gifted and Talented program, our HEP program, we're going to look at standardized test scores. To get into West Essex Middle School Advanced Math course, the first thing they look at are their NJSLA scores. Okay, they look at their MAP score, which is a placement test that they'll be taking in 6th grade. So it is important for those students that they are comfortable with this. We don't want their first standardized assessment to be high stakes where they don't get into a class or they don't get into a program that they want to. Some of the others, high school graduation, college credit, college entry. I put this up there. A lot of the highly selective universities, including most Ivy Leagues, everybody went to test optional during COVID. There's a lot of universities flipping back. They all went to essays. We're going to really weigh these essays. Then AI jumped in the picture and said, uh-oh, AI is writing some of these essays. ChatGPT is writing some of these essays. So now they're starting to switch back and say, okay, maybe the tests are helpful. So not all of them have switched to test required, but some of them do. Postgraduate, if you went to any graduate program, of course, doctors have to go through this. And then basics. We all had to take a driver's license test, whether it's for a boat, a car, anything. You can't show up to those and just tell the person, you know what, can I still drive the boat? I'm just not a good test taker. That's not going to cut it. It doesn't matter whether you're a good test taker or not. You have to perform. And a lot of times we say, well, my child is not just good at those. All right, but let's work on it. Let's get him. Why is he or she not good at it? Is it a lack of confidence? Is it anxiety? How do you overcome that? You practice it. You give them experience with it so they don't get nervous. They don't feel anxious and say, I don't want to take NJSLA. Could you refuse it or opt me out? We want them to take it. We want them to do their best. And all these other occupations. I mean, you name it. Accountants, mechanics, civil servants, police officers, engineers. Every certified staff member in our school district had to pass a test. They had to. So the time to start is now. We want them to get comfortable and acclimated to standardized tests in elementary school. So it is an important thing. And if you're a resident here, then you also know when our test scores come out, it affects the value of your home. I mean, let's be honest. The schools become highly ranked. People move into neighborhoods based on the schools, so it does affect the value of the home. So it is an important piece. Is it the only piece? No, but it is an important one. All right, enough about all the tests. Let's talk about what we're actually doing here, which is teaching and learning. So new this year, and some of you may have noticed, in 3rd and 4th grade, we departmentalize the subject areas. That means you now have a teacher dedicated to just math or math and science. So not only did this help our teachers where they're not having to plan for 6 subjects every single day, they can focus in on those particular areas and they can dive deeper into those plans. The students have the go-to their math person. So it has helped in a lot of different areas, and it puts the teachers in the areas where they're more passionate about. If their thing is really ELA, before they had to teach math, they had to teach them all. Now they can say, okay, I'm gonna really focus on reading and writing because that's what I do well, that's where my passion's at. So it helps on a lot of different levels. We adopted a new ELA program. So if you've seen anything about CKLA, that's what that is. It's highly, highly touted as one of the top and was expensive, but thanks to Wally's expertise, we were able to purchase that one without having to say, you know what, could we find a cheaper, less effective one? We went all out. It's the Cadillac of programs, and there's been a lot of PD for that. So that's the next one. District-wide PD, we've never had. We always just have, well, this is for Churchill, this is for Stevenson. This is the first time where K through 6, we have district-wide PD. It started in September. It's going all the way through January. We get all of those teachers together, so they're learning the same language, the same verbiage, the same strategies. So that's been a huge benefit. And that was available through a grant. So I have to thank Katie Prohl on that, because that is completely paid for. We did not have to pay for that at all. So what did I do with that money? I threw it all in math. Scheduled online PD. So again, now that we're departmentalized, it's not every single teacher is teaching ELA and math. Now the ELA teachers can attend the ELA PD. And now I can have my math teachers, who are different teachers, now pulled and attend the math PD. We couldn't do that before. It seems simple, but if you were pulling them for ELA, that was every single teacher. And now they can't do math PD because it's the same teachers. So now we're able to split them up and we're able to do a more effective PD. We're also able to add interventionists at Churchill and a second interventionist at Stevenson, which is huge. I can't tell you how helpful they are. When kids struggle, they are the ones that go in, they're the ones that test the kids, they're the one to pull them, they're the ones that give them the extra remediation, and they focus on what we talked about earlier, the areas that they struggle in. So the interventions are key. I know at one time we had several interventions at Churchill and 4 or 5 interventions at Stevenson. Ideally, we'd love to get back there. Hopefully we will, but little by little. Some of the things we use, we're continue to doing, constantly looking at the data to help our instruction. Offering class periods dedicated to DI and TI, mentioned that. And providing accommodation, support, and enrichment for students.
Some of the abbreviations, can you just
Oh, sure.
define what they mean?
Yeah. So,
PD.
yes, sorry. District-wide professional development. Was there some over there? Oh.
Thank you very much for the brave soul that forced the bug out of the municipal room. We appreciate you greatly.
This isn't just a regular teaching experience where there's a distraction, you lose half the class, nobody knows what they're going, they don't know what the initials stand for. This is pretty accurate. Oh, no, it jumped right over here. It's a hopper. Okay, couldn't plan that better. All right, so sorry, that's professional development, the PD. DI, we're talking about differentiated instruction. SEL is our social emotional learning. Of course, IEP and 504s. IRNS, that's our intervention and referral services. Counseling, special services, and HEP is our gifted talented. We call it our high enrichment program. We emphasize analysis, application, critical thinking. That's constant, always. Our teachers are always posing questions that are higher order to make our kids think. The main reason, this last piece, and as parents, you know this, we're trying to build the student's ability to problem solve, to work through things, perseverance, grit. They do not have that. And with everything being instant, they have found no reason to have patience, and they give up very, very easily. You ask them a question, they don't know it, the hand goes up, I'm lost. They do not have that stamina. So we're constantly building that, and you'll see that in a variety of ways, not just at home, in school, on the playground, on the fields, that grit and perseverance. Okay, I'm gonna mention this. I mean, there's definitely a thank you, but the faculty and staff for their dedication. But I just want to, this is not easy. So if you've taught in these subject areas, you know this is additional pressure. Nobody wants to teach a subject area where their scores are going to be publicly talked about, and everybody just assumes, well, that's what you picked. A lot of times when they picked to teach ELA and math, it wasn't like this. It wasn't data, 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 everything's shown on scores. So what these teachers go through and the pressure they feel to teach a tested area is difficult to understand. I went through this with a middle school and high school. AP teachers, same thing. You see their scores. If the scores are bad, it's a teacher's fault. The scores are good, well, the students were smart that year. It's almost like a no-win. So I want to just give a special thanks to the teachers who endure this extra pressure, our ELA teachers, our math teachers, and our science teachers, because it is not easy. They know the scores are going to be shown publicly. They know people are going to look back and say, oh, well, that grade didn't do that great. Who was the teacher? And immediately the blame goes to the teacher. There are a lot of factors that go with these scores. A lot. How seriously the kid takes the test. How many kids took the test? Was it a strong cohort of kids? Or have they scored high every year? Have they scored low every year? So when they come into the student's class, the teacher deals with no matter what they have. Their goal is to make sure the kids grow from wherever they're at. If they're low, they just want to move them up a little. Maybe they're never going to be proficient. The important part is not being proficient, it's growing. Did they improve? And those teachers do have a lot of extra pressure. And it's not just those. I mentioned it before. All the subject areas contribute. And although these scores, the testing areas are in Churchill, we do not have those third grade scores or any of those grade scores if Stevenson is not doing their thing and preparing the kids so when they get to Churchill, they're ready to go. Because if they're not ready after kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, don't expect much from third grade. And it just cycles through. So I really want to make sure when we say thank you to our faculty and staff, it's all of the grades, it's both schools, because they have done a phenomenal job. I came in as a new superintendent. I came in with a vision. They adopted it. They followed it. They were fantastic. I knew the scores that were in the previous years didn't reflect their efforts, and I'm glad these scores do. So special thanks to them. And of course, the Board of Education, you supported me from the get-go, committed to academic growth. That has been the number one calling was when you come in here, we want academics first. We want you to focus on that. And hopefully these scores show that it has worked out. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Any questions while I'm here? Yeah.
I just have one. Have you been able to desegregate the special education students from the gen ed students in the testing scores? And have you been able to see, obviously there's been growth, I'm assuming that in this all kids, including the special
Yes.
kids, there's growth overall, but do we know if there's been growth in specifically desegregating some of the different groups?
There is, and there typically is, significant growth in special education, but they're not the level of proficiency as regular education, which is across the board, every school district. So there was nothing. Yes, yes. We're definitely seeing growth. And you'll see the growth on your actually individual report that you got home. You will see there should be a growth score on yours, depending on what grade they're in, of how your child specifically grow. But we know those growth scores. I did not talk about growth scores here. We just talked about, we lumped them all together. But there is significant growth of special education, but not in the level of proficiency for special education is not the same as regular ed, which we anticipate.
I just have one follow-up.
Sure.
So congratulations again on the scores, and then also on the fact that
Thanks to
we're
the teachers.
able to buy the reading program, right?
Yes.
So in reference to the reading program, is that for all grades that you purchased the reading program?
I think we started with, I have to ask Katie, I think it's 2 through 5.
Okay. The reason I asked that question is because I'm curious about this program and how it runs through Fairfield, and how does it align to West Essex as they're going up into?
Very well. That was one of the things we checked from the beginning.
I have a
And it
child
also
in
linked,
seventh grade, and
yes,
that's why I'm
yes.
They have
It-
all these reading, classes. They have 4 different reading
Yes.
classes. And Fairfield kids are struggling right now in those reading classes, right? And good students in all academics, and then all of a sudden we see this reading grade that is a lot lower. So I'm just trying to understand, how are we preparing them? And is this new program?
This program focuses on the skills,
Okay.
not the content, which is hugely important. Because if you change the content and all of a sudden the students don't like something, all of a sudden you'll see them. This one focuses on the skills, and that's why it was highly rated. We checked into that. I've reached out to West Essex. I know what programs they use, including for math. And it also links beautifully with Foundations, which is done in kindergarten and first grade, so that when they transition to CKLA, there's not, oh, we've never done this before. So it all blends together.
And are we the only district using
No.
this program? Or
No.
is Roseland SFL's
They are not. They have other, they do have separate programs. But when we went out, the teachers reviewed this. They looked at the different, the top three. We looked at them. They went to see CKLA implemented in another school district, spoke to those teachers to make sure they got feedback from actual teachers of how it is. And I did an observation today, and it's a huge difference. The focus on the skills and continuing to build those skills is very different than what's a typical ELA classroom would look like.
And then my last question, sorry.
Last one,
There's a
Tracy.
limit, huh?
That's it.
And my last question is, thank you so much for obviously saving the district so much money. With savings, right, and I'm gonna look at Joe, right?
We knew this was coming.
With savings, I know that the special education department is definitely suffering at this point from just being able to find staff and things like that. So is there any additional funding that could be filtered to the special education department so that when we go out to find people to come into it, we're not strapped with not being able to offer prices that, the rate that people are looking for?
Yeah, first, the special education department, we've had people go on leaves and we've had people leave for more money and do different things like that. It has nothing to do with how much money we're funding towards special education. We can always use more. And that's why one of them is on the ballot question, so we can add that. Having said that, there's a couple reasons why we just can't throw $110,000 at a first-year special education teacher. So, and believe it or not, that's not a crazy request. They've come in front of me, I've looked at the resume, it's gotten to the point where, you know what, you're fantastic, you're our top choice, let's talk about contract, and they throw out a number. I'm not gonna do that to my existing staff who's been here and done that. So there's a few reasons. Do we know we have to be competitive? Absolutely.
I'm just asking, because if you look at this in other districts, look at North Caldwell, 2.2 million on an average, same number of students as us, same number percentage of.
I'm sorry, Tracy, when you say 2.2 million, in regards to what? Just so everyone in the audience is aware of the numbers that you're using and what they're for.
The 2.2 million is their special education budget.
Okay.
Ours is hovering around 1.5. I have to look at the most recent number, but as I remember, it's around 1.5. They have about the same number of students in special education department as well as in Gen Ed, right? If you look at Roseland, they're running around 1.9 in their budget, and they're running they're running a little high. They're running at like 17 to 18% of their population but they have a smaller population. So
I can tell you, just speaking on those examples, North Caldwell sends significant number of students out of district. So their budget needs to be significantly higher than ours, so they are going to budget more. And that is one of the reasons why we do put that money in the budget, because we don't know how it's going to turn out. Sometimes we anticipate 4 or 5 students having to be done, and then sometimes it's only 2. Other times we budget 3 or 4, and it's 7. Because we have the programs we do, we're able to keep students, like our MD program and our artistic program, in our building, whereas another district would have that same student and would have to send them out of district. So they do have to budget more. That doesn't mean that their teachers are getting paid more or it's funneled into salaries of the teachers.
There was additional programs that they were offering.
No.
We'd have to look at
Yes.
it side by side, so
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Mhm.
I was just curious if we could, again, more money, that we're saving, an area where we need to improve, can we funnel, just like math, we need to funnel to math, can we funnel?
We always funnel to
Yeah,
special
and Ryan, just to touch on Tracy's point, that was one of the topics of conversation in executive with the auditors here. When you look at the budget, because we're heading in the right direction, doesn't mean we're necessarily there yet. So to prematurely just start spending money after 1 or 2 good fiscal years, is really not the responsible thing to do. So what we're planning on is at the end of every year, basically Ryan's going to give Wally a wish list of what we need, right? And that's why Ryan said we put that in the question, the ballot, because that's something that's sustainable, long-term, that will help the district and special education, for years to come.
And I know we have a lot of work to do on the buildings and things like that, to have $9 million in capital reserve and to have needs, so I'm just curious, obviously, that answers my question, if you're gonna have a wish list and stuff like that, but it just seems like instead of waiting till the end of the year and then dumping into capital reserve, could we funnel that money in?
Right, so that's a good point, and that's something we always talk about, and that's something that Wally does at the end of every year to see the programs that we need. I would just be careful with comparing, because when I did that, when I first joined the board, you don't know how they allocate everything that they allocate. in detail at the other districts. So for example, if somebody's salary touches special ed and gen ed, you don't know how we're allocating it versus how they're allocating it. And that cost kind of doesn't make it comparable. I think that we've been saying we need to focus more on special ed, but from a standpoint of getting ahead of the cost of special ed. And that's why we're putting more and more on the ballot. And to help our special ed in the best way possible is through people cost. And that's why those questions, hopefully, now this year's one, we did say we would do this every other year, not every single year. But that is one of the main reasons why we have that question. It's to stay
Special
ahead of that
education staff member
rising
and 3/8.
cost.
So from the capital reserve, what is the number we're trying to get into capital reserve?
It's
Like
not,
asking how much money you should save. Emergencies pop up and you can go from 9 million to less than $1 million like that. We're trying, like the boiler project, we didn't go out for a question, we did all that internally. If we didn't have a savings account, it's no different than building a savings account for emergencies. And for a district this size, it looks like it's a lot of money and like, oh, if I could only, it's in the capital reserve. You can't touch that money to use for salaries, it's separated. But as the auditor said, we're finally getting to a healthy point. But this is
And that-
1 year in.
and that
We have to be
number-
consistent with
So-
a savings so that if we do have emergencies, we can.
But that
take them
number
on.
is also predicated on our 5-year plan that we put together every other year and we review every year. It's drastically changing. That number will never exceed the amount of projects, dollar value that we have to do here. It's just not, first of all, it's not even allowed. It gets monitored, but it's almost impossible. So like you saw that 9 million, I think when they presented it, but that number is already lower than 9 million. That number, because we know we're spending it. And now whatever we spend, some of it gets put back because we have to spend the money in order to get the grant money back. But we already have more projects we're talking about for this summer. So it's not, we have the right to use the taxpayer money the most efficient manner possible and make these schools look nice and make sure, obviously, that they're upkept, but that everything else is going to education and teacher salaries. So we're doing that. It's just, you see some of these big numbers now that you've never seen before. It's like, oh, look at this. Yeah, that's just because they weren't doing the job the right way 3-4 years ago. We're doing our job now, and we're building because we've kind of taken this down to bare bones a little bit, and we're rebuilding. It's just, how fast do you rebuild without having any slip-ups, and where does the money go, and things like that, which we're managing the best way we can.
School districts are required to have a long-range facility plan. So, and we have to submit that down to the state. So it's a 5-year plan of all needs, and they're all tiered. Like, what is a real necessity, like ventilation, and so once that gets down there, there's a number assigned to it, a dollar amount. So you would like to have your reserves close to that dollar amount, because otherwise, any projects you have to do, you'd have to hit the taxpayer for it, as a referendum or so. So by putting money into the reserves slowly and trying to get it up to what your facility plan is, you don't have to go to the taxpayer for those funds, and you could, yeah, we're pretty close.
We're getting there.
And that number, it grew a lot, not our reserve, but the cost, because the cost of anything nowadays is astronomical. So, like compared to 5 years ago.
I do
that
know-
number jumped dramatically, so that's why we're trying to build up those reserves, just to get the buildings into good shape.
Yeah, I do know we are interviewing for the position that's needed in special education. And one of the things that the board talks about often is, we have our HEP program, Heightened Enrichment Program, right? So there's always the kids that are doing well academically have HEP, right? The kids that have IEPs and 504s have basic skills in special education. So our goal is to make sure that every, category, including general education, is hit. So kids that are in general education, that are on the bubble of going down to basic skills or needing an IEP or special education, that we're actually tackling, every group of students that we have here. So Heightened, and we get this conversation all the time from parents of gen ed kids, like, hey, HEP has HEP. Special education has IEPs, they have things that they're entitled to, but more often than not, it's the general ed kids that are on the bubble that get overlooked. And then when they get to West Essex, they really struggle because they didn't have the extra help that the district offers at a special education level. Their Heightened Enrichment Program is great here. Mrs. Arian does a fantastic job with it. So like one of the things that we pride ourselves on and we're really looking for in the future is to make sure we hit all of those benchmarks for every student in the district, whether they're in special education, our Heightened Enrichment Program, or basically just our gen ed kids. So we're hopeful.
Because if Gen Ed is not getting the resources it needs, that's where your kid ends.
Yeah.
The parent raises their hands and I
Yeah.
want a kid tested, because the Gen Ed kid doesn't, right?
Yep.
It starts to dip, so I'm in agreement with you. I think the other areas of concern are just, right now, we are putting out, third-party vendors to staff our child study team and things like that. So I'm assuming we're not paying them benefits and things like that, but is the cost of those third parties higher than paying a salary, an in-house salary? I don't know the answer. I'm just saying, looking at those types of things, how does that impact the special education budget?
We factor in how much it's going to cost. You typically, when you go to a third party, it is going to cost more. But there aren't choices. Like we mentioned at our CPAG meeting, when no one's applying for the position, it doesn't matter how much salary we have ready to spend in special education. It's just not there. And it's not just special education. Any specialized area, if you're looking for an art teacher, if you're looking for a special education teacher, any music teacher, they're hard to come by. The colleges do not have students in their teacher education program. So when you have just basic supply and demand, these teachers know that they can walk in and play the free agent market and throw numbers out there, and someone is going to give it to them.
Right, and it's just disheartening for our children because of a lack of consistency, and if you have a child with special ed, in a special ed program, you see the lack of consistency. And everybody with all the.
And that's nothing new, because we have students in general education that 2-3 years in a row they've had a maternity leave replacement or a medical leave replacement. There's those types of things that you just can't control. And they've had a negative experience with a teacher because that person was transitioning. We had 2 teachers go into the same class. That student had to deal with 2 different teachers. So those are things every school faces. We can't control those. We do the best we can with what we have. But
Yeah, all kids should get programs should be for all children. All children are Gen Ed kids. And the only difference between a special education child and a Gen Ed is that they need some special services. So everybody should be getting programs.
and there's also a guidance counselor on the ballot.
Yeah.
We know it's not just going to be special ed, but we need also help for our students with social and emotional learning.
Yeah.
And teaching them how to interact and those skills that our kids seem to lack. So that's on there too.
Hence the importance of the vote,
Yeah.
right? It's very, very, very minimal amount of money with a huge return in the district and our children's future, honestly.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
There was another question or?
Are you able to compare our test scores to neighboring towns?
Not yet. Yes, we have to wait till those are published. And typically, just speaking to other districts, they don't like sharing. So we'll wait till the state publishes those and then we'll know. But that's a great question. That's the next time I speak to the faculty, it's with that information of this is how all the other towns did.
Is that something that will be presented here or online?
Typically is not presented. It's public knowledge, and everybody seems to know what the other towns are doing, but it's never a formal presentation like an assessment report. That's always information that we take and we say, okay, how did we do here? Okay, how did we do in that area compared to North Caldwell or Roseland or Essex Fells or West Essex or whoever else? Because that's a great question. I'd have to look back and when I presented that to staff last year, but it's very delayed, unfortunately. Yeah, so we have to wait. As soon as they're published, we'll know how everybody else did. Good question. Yes?
I just wanted to jump on the curriculum. With CCALA, when you go into K-2, there's a 2-part program that goes into there with the foundational skills. Are you guys planning on implementing CCALA with the 2-part program in K-2, or are you going to stay with foundations, or are you going to hybrid it with part of CCALA? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you going to keep foundations, or is your plan to completely replace with the CCALA in K-2?
I could give you an answer, but I'd totally be guessing. I'd have to, you can reach out directly to Ms. Prawl, or I can get back to you with that answer, but I'm not positive. I know they did look into that.
Yet to put it into
K-2 and 1, no.
It's funded, you're
2 to 5, yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Any other questions about the assessment report? All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. So a couple things. First and foremost, thank you, Angela, for your slideshow presentation. What you guys do not know is Angela made several videos for last month's meeting that were amazing. but unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties and we couldn't air them, but we will put them on our social media page, and I know how much work went into that, so thank you. Just touching on one or two things that Ryan said in regards to some of our math scores not being impressive. Listen, we interviewed 27 people for the superintendent position, okay? It was a daunting, taxing, 6-week process. And one of the things that we found during that time was every superintendent said the same thing. Hey, to turn the district around and get higher test scores is going to be years, okay? Except for one. And he's the guy sitting here who said in his first interview, I know their deficiencies. I've been watching them for years at West Essex. I know where Fairfield struggles. I know what they need, and I know how to improve it, right? So with that being said, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank everyone who plays a part in the many wonderful things that we've heard tonight. From our rising test scores, to our fiscally responsible budget, to the beautiful improvements we made across our district. None of these successes happen by chance. They are all the direct result of a strong, steady leadership of our superintendent, the dedication and vision of our administrative team, the incredible work from our teachers and staff who bring our mission to life every single day in our classroom and schools. As a Board of Education, we are proud to work behind the scenes to help guide and support this progress, keeping our district aligned with our goals and vision of the future. But tonight, we want to take a moment to truly thank our superintendent, our business administrator, all of our administrators, and every teacher and staff member whose commitment and hard work continue to move the district forward. The success of our students and the pride our community feels tonight is a direct reflection of all of you. So thank you both very, very, very much. Any more questions, Trace? All right, we're going to move on to our couple, I think we just have one or two things on committees.
Two quick things on committees. One from HSA. So the HSA just wanted to thank everyone for everyone's support of the walkathon. They raised over $9,000, which was a record-breaking amount. And they're just genuinely happy and grateful that everyone showed up. It was a beautiful day, and grateful that it goes back to the students. They also wanted me to mention to save the date. They're taking over the cannoli shop on November 3rd from 4 to 6. So we're going to have many teachers, over 30 teachers signed up to date to serve coffee and cannolis. And 30% of the sales that evening will be given back to the HSA. So please come out and support them, see our teachers serving coffee. The bug is back.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you, Kristen. So November 11th, cannoli shop, please go and support them from 4 to 6. And one last announcement from CPAC. They also have another 2 events coming up. One is on Tuesday, October 28th at 7 p.m. in the Stevenson Gym, which will be a roundtable, which includes parents, student services, the CPAC support information, and the Director of Special Services. So please come out. A lot of great information was shared last year. We're trying to make this a bigger organization. A lot of parents put a lot of time into this, so please come out and support them. There's a lot of useful information. Whether you have a special education student or you have a regular education student, you know, it's valuable for all. And one last thing, this is a little bit off on the calendar, but I just want to mention it. On Monday, January 12th at 7 p.m., West Essex Middle School, Ira Hayes will be presenting, and he's a therapist, educator, consultant, specializing in the treatment of anxiety disorders, OCD, and school phobia. And if you'd like more information about CPAC, you can go on their Fairfield CPAC Facebook page, sign up to register so you receive all their announcements. And thank you again to all the volunteers on HSA, CPAC. You guys really do a great job, and we appreciate it. And to our teachers that are working at the cannoli shop. We can't wait to see you.
Great. In regards to the Municipal Alliance, this past Friday, we had our 6th grade dance over at Stevenson School. It was very interesting. The 6th graders have a lot of energy. I believe we had 97 out of 106 6th graders attend, which was a great night. We had our lead officers there as well. We have our Winter Wonderland on December 13th, so we expect to see everybody there. As you all seen, Kristen, who serves on the FEF, removed the bug for us so eloquently. Kristen, we saw some information in regards to your next fundraiser. Do you just want to touch on when that is and what to expect, or?
Yep, so that's gonna be on March 11th. We're gonna be having at Naniñas, which is a family-owned Fairfield.
Yes.
Families contributing
Mhm.
and helping us to throw it there. We're really looking forward to having everyone attend. It's gonna be a derby theme. And we're really excited. In the last 2 years, we've been able to contribute just a bit over, or raise rather, $100,000 for our district. And we're really looking forward to the next round of grants that are going to be taking place the next short weeks. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you. Yes, the Murillos do a great job. They're a Fairfield family, and I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful event. Public comments on agenda items only. With that, with no one raising their hand, we'd like to move on. Oh. Is this an? Yeah, so this agenda. Sure, so if you could just stand up, state your name, your address. No worries, absolutely. You're the first one in the last couple meetings, so this is unexpected surprise, but welcomed.
From here on out. How you doing? Dayton Pierce, 17 Fox Hill Road.
Okay.
In reference to the agenda item for special counsel, just wondering what that's in reference to.
Sure.
We have a possible pending litigation issue that we can't disclose what the purpose is right now due to the nature of the case. So once we're able to discuss it in public, we'll report on it.
Did an incident occur at a school that we should be aware of?
No.
No.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Do I just push?
Yes. Thank you so much. And thanks for the warning. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on now.
Okay. Finance item, page 4. The following finance motions are made at the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. Anything placed on this agenda, items 1 through 6, will be voted upon in one motion. I motion items 1 through 6.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Feedy,
Yes.
Ms. Street,
Yes.
Ms. Altai,
Yes.
and Mr. DePesco.
Yes.
The following contract motions are made at the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. Anything placed on this agenda, items 1 to 2, will be voted on in one motion. I motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Feedy,
Yes.
Ms. Street,
Yes.
Ms. Altai,
Yes.
and Mr. DePesco.
Yes.
Okay. Administrative, page 7. The following administrative motions are made at the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. Anything placed on this agenda, items 1 and 2, will be voted upon in one motion. I motion items 1 and 2.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Feedy,
Yes.
Ms. Street,
Yes.
Ms. Altai,
Yes.
and Mr. DePesco.
Yes.
Okay, page 8, buildings and grounds. The following buildings and grounds motion is made at the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. Anything placed on this agenda, item 1, will be voted upon in one motion. I motion item 1.
A second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Feedy,
Yes.
Ms. Street,
Yes.
Ms. Altai,
Yes.
and Mr. DePesco.
Yes.
Okay, the following personnel motions are made at the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. Anything placed on this agenda, items 1 through 3, will be voted upon in one motion. I so move.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Feedy,
Yes.
Ms. Street,
Yes.
Ms. Altai,
Yes.
and Mr. DePesco.
Yes.
Curriculum, page 11. The following curriculum program motions are made at the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. Anything placed on this agenda, items 1 through 3, will be voted on in one motion. I motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Feedy,
Yes.
Ms. Street,
Yes.
Ms. Altai,
Yes.
and Mr. DePesco.
Yes.
The following policy motions are made at the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. Anything placed on this agenda, items 1 through 3, will be voted upon in one motion. I so move.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Feedy,
Yes.
Ms. Street,
Yes.
Ms. Altai,
Yes.
and Mr. DePesco.
Yes. Public comments and non-agenda items only? Anyone? Okay. With that being said, we just wanted to touch on the e-bike policy that will be passed this evening. a bless will go out. Mr. Gupta, do you just want to just touch on what the policy states and
Yeah, I think you may have seen an email blast about this before, and if you've seen it around town, you know this has become an issue. So the board got together, obviously prioritized the safety of students. We know there might be some people, especially the kids, who are upset, or parents that feel like they're inconvenienced because now they have to figure out other transportation, but we absolutely just cannot have students riding their e-bikes to and from school, around the schools. Some of them have been popping wheelies and going. So we know they've already been, I believe they've been banned from all recreational facilities. So now also that ban will be for schools as well. I'll send out a reminder tomorrow for those of you that were planning on sending your child on an e-bike.
Thank you very much. Next meeting, be it resolved, the next meeting will be held in person on November 20th, public work session beginning at 6 p.m., followed by executive session with public session resuming at approximately 7:30 p.m. at the Fairfield Municipal Building. May I have a motion for adjournment? All in favor? Aye. Thank you all for coming. Listen, this is the first meeting that we've had north of 25 people. We greatly appreciate you taking the time. We know you're all extremely busy, but everything we touched on tonight is extremely important and informative, and we want you to hear it here first. So if you have any questions, you could address them. You can address any concerns with the board or with our superintendent or administrators. Thank you for coming this evening. We see some of our staff in the audience. Have a great night. Go Falcons.
Thank you.